Hey guys, what is going on, my people? Guys, I have a really impromptu here live for you. Really to dive into this question of like, how do people get stuck? But this is going to be an advanced training. So I was working on, or actually, we was taking somebody through this process inside of one of the masterminds that I'm a part of. And one of the things that came up was like, man, you really need to teach this to people. So this is really like the underlying reason why people stay stuck and how we as coaches can get them and ourselves unstuck. But this, like I said, is an advanced training. So if you're just getting started as coaches, watch some of the other videos and stuff that we have, because today is going to be a little bit deeper of like a conversation around how do people really get stuck? So here's the thing. Let me take my handy dandy pen here. By the way, Teresa's on and she's going to be here with me to ask any questions as we go through this. But she will also tell you that I'm the worst writer and drawer on the planet, and she is not wrong. All right. So when we think about this idea of like people really getting stuck, so there's two problems that people can experience where they could potentially feel stuck. What we're going to be talking about today is the coaching part of that perspective. The other part, when it comes to like the other problems, has a lot to do with mentoring, giving advice, giving direction, sharing some of the things that has happened to you, all of those kind of things. And for that other problem, that's perfect. But for the actual problem that I find that most of the clients that I help get stuck with, and when I help unlock this for them, it helps them rewrite the future forever for them. It's because of this specific reason. So when you think about this idea of like, how do people really get stuck? I want to give you like, walk you through like how this works in everyday life, but really what's going on under the surface. Because there's this great quote by Carl Jung. And what it says is, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. So for today, I want to make you conscious of this, because that gives you the ability of changing it. But also what you're going to hear a little bit later is you probably need a coach to be able to help you through this. All right. Now, here's what I want to start off with. I want to start off with the conscious. Okay. Now, when I say consciousness, what I really mean is like if you look around right now, what are some things that you see? What is some like maybe some smells that you smell? Maybe some like things that you hear. Like when we're thinking about conscious, it's like right now here in this very moment. But when we think about like our consciousness, which is some of the stories and some of the thoughts and stuff that we have in our brain, we can also think about these kind of thoughts in the conscious realm. Now, here's what I mean is like right now, you're thinking something, whether it's like, does this guy really know what he's talking about? Or like, hey, maybe I need to pay attention to this. There's something that your brain is telling you. And when I share this with you, it brings it into your conscious realm. So you can deal with it. You can think about it. It's like, what is going on in your brain? You're aware of it. All right. Now, when it comes to being conscious and your consciousness, a lot of people will term this as your mindset. So you just have to have a better mindset. And when somebody says this to someone who's really stuck, it is not helpful in any way. So I want to make sure that as a coach that you never do that. You never tell people, well, if you thought about this differently, or you thought about this more positively, because that's not actually going to help your client. And you'll understand why in a second, right? Now, when we think about our consciousness, like what we're actually focusing on, then the stories and the thoughts and the beliefs that we have in our brain, they say that anywhere between 3 to 5% of the thoughts that we have are actually conscious, meaning we can see them, we can hear them in our brain, right? The conversations that are going on. But a majority of the thoughts that we have and the beliefs that we have are the next level unconscious, okay? So conscious is where we spend our day, right? We're like here, right in the now. But see, what happens is if we had to be thinking about every single thing we're doing, like everything I'm doing with my hands right now, like using the bathroom, brushing our teeth, if we had to think about all of those things, we would be on overload. And so what the conscious does is it grabs onto things and puts it into our unconscious or our subconscious. So that way we don't have to think about it all of the time. Now, when you think about what's below that, the unconscious, this is where 95 to 97%, Teresa, how am I doing on the writing? I know you're loving this. 95 to 97% of the stuff happens automatically, meaning we don't think about it, we just do it. We get up, we walk, we go to the bathroom, we exercise, we go say something to our kids. Like we do these things, but we don't have to think about all of the steps that it takes. Now, when we think about this whole idea of getting stuck, we typically don't get stuck in the conscious mind. We get stuck in the unconscious mind. What I mean by that is when we think about some of the things that are holding us back, right? Like, I don't have any time. I don't have the energy. I don't have whatever that thing is, right? I'm not where I'm supposed to be. All of these things are unconscious thoughts and beliefs that we have in our brain that actually surface up in terms of sometimes it's like surface level thoughts, but they will actually prevent us from bringing it to the conscious mind and doing something different, because we're so used to it being done automatically. It's being done automatically, but some of the things that are done automatically, like when we go to walk, like we walk automatically without having to think about it. Well, there's been programming in your belief system that gets you to believe a certain way, and you don't even realize you're believing that way. And it's not the truth. It's just a belief. Now, there's a difference between a truth and a belief. A truth means it's universal. Everybody believes it to be true, right? There's gravity. A belief is just something you currently believe right now. And when you find out that the belief is actually what's holding you back, that is where we can get stuck. But see, here's the thing. It is in the unconscious part of your brain, the subconscious. You do not think it it's not something that's in the forefront of your mind. And so when you think about the whole subconscious, this is what's really running the show. Now, I want to differentiate between two things right here. One is a thought, and one is a belief, okay? Now, a thought, the way I like to think about this is thoughts are kind of like surface level things or sentences that happen in your mind. And they don't really tell you the real truth about what's going on, but they do get derived from a deep hidden belief that you might not even know that you have. Beliefs are things that you've thought so many times in a row and for so long, or maybe you had an emotional enough experience that it got trapped in there and it's definitive and you believe that your belief is true. Okay. Told you this is a little bit complicated, but you'll understand why this is important to know in a minute. And so when you have this belief, you don't even know that you have the belief, but you still function from a place of as if that belief is true. Now, when you have a coaching session and you're talking to somebody and they're like, I just don't have the time. That, my friends, is a thought. It's trying to hide what this belief is. So what if like deep down inside, you don't believe you're good enough? Well, then you're going to have 72 million thoughts. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. Nobody listens to me. Who do I have to share? Like all of these kind of thoughts kind of like pile up to get you to feel that belief so that you don't do that uncomfortable thing. And this is how we can stay stuck, is we think that thought so many times and so many of these additional thoughts kind of like come to play, but we actually haven't gotten to the root of what's actually holding us back, which is the belief. Now, this last part is the part that my friend said that I needed to share the most. When we think about our subconscious, our unconscious or subconscious, you can interchange them for the purpose of this. We've got to think about like, what is the purpose of our brain, our mind, our subconscious, like these things that kind of like run on autopilot. Number one, we kind of already talked about, is to automate things. So your brain doesn't want to use any extra energy. So if it doesn't have to think about it and you can just automatically make it into a habit, it will do that. It will do that for good things. It'll do that for quote unquote bad things. It'll do that for things that serve us. And it'll also do that for things that don't serve us. That's why it's so easy to once you've like created a habit, it's so hard once you created a habit to kind of like let go it or retrain it, because it's something that your brain has like made it happen on autopilot. Now, in order to make it not happen on autopilot, it needs to bring it to the conscious side so that you can actually think about it. And then when you do that enough, then it reprograms your unconscious, right? So that's the first reason is repetition. Repetition. It is for being able to do things on autopilot, to automate things. But the second reason, this is a really important thing, is for safety. A lot of our beliefs are in place because it really wants to keep us safe. It wants us to stay in our comfort zone. Now, here's the thing. Back in the day when a saber-toothed tiger was running after you, and you had to really listen to your beliefs in terms of like walking out onto the prairie, or if like, let's say you were going to speak up and you didn't know, like if you got humiliated, like they would throw you out of the tribe and you wouldn't be able to survive. Some of these things have been ingrained in us for a long time. But when we think about the impact that they make right now, we are not in any fear of safety. However, our belief system gets us to believe that we are until we examine it, until we realize that in the grand scheme of things, if I talk in front of somebody, if I coach somebody, if I have a conversation with somebody about something hard, we are not going to like physically die from those things, even though our brain really does believe it. So when we think about this whole entire process of how people really stay stuck, here's how it goes. So first off, a majority of what's going on is being run by the subconscious or the unconscious mind, meaning we have thoughts and beliefs that have been thought so many times that we don't even think about them. And so when we are actually stuck, our brain might tell us some of those initial thoughts of like, yeah, I'm stuck because I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the energy, I don't have this, I don't have that. My boss doesn't support me. And in reality, what happens is that belief that's actually under the surface never gets like brought to the conscious mind. So you never get an opportunity for them to see what is actually causing them to be stuck. But when you can get in and a coach can help you ask some questions, they help you bring this unconscious thought and belief to your conscious mind. Now you have an opportunity to go, well, I guess if I were to do that thing, like there actually wouldn't be any danger. You know what? I kind of like think that the reason why this happened is because when this situation happened when I was younger, like this is just the process that I went through. And it kind of like I got this belief stuck in me that maybe I'm not good enough because they were telling me that I wasn't good at math or I wasn't good at this. And I've now taken this unconscious belief and put it through every single situation that I've been a part of. And that is really how we get ourselves to stay stuck. Now, as a coach, what we need to do is we need to help them understand this unconscious thing that's going on, the belief system and the thoughts, bring it to their mind so that they can make a decision to go down a different path. And much like how it was trained in the past through emotional experiences and repetition, we have to do the same thing to retrain it in a new way so they can get something different. So that's the power of not only how people like get stuck, but also like how to get them unstuck. And that's really what we do as coaches is bringing those conscious thoughts and beliefs. Sometimes they're like surface level, but we get in there deep enough to be able to bring them to fruition and then help them rewrite them in their conscious brain. And then from repetition and getting them, whether it's affirmations or getting them to experience an emotional enough experience, they can now rewrite them so that they start to happen unconsciously. And now they can start taking those actions without having to think about it. So this is how people get stuck and why it's so easy to get stuck. Now, a couple of things that I want to share here before I ask Teresa if she has any questions about this is when you're going through this process, this is why sharing a podcast, sharing a book, sharing a resource that you've been through is not the solution for the person that you're coaching. Asking questions, really helping them identify what's actually holding them back and getting to the root of it, that is. So instead of giving advice, start asking powerful questions to help uncover some of these things and then start to rewrite those beliefs and into a new system, right? And that's obviously what we teach inside of the certification, but I wanted to bring this up because this is the process that why it's so hard for us when we get stuck, but also one of the things that like hopefully you'll be able to experience from this is empathy for other people who are. Because it's not that they're not good enough. It's not that they need to read another book or it's not that they need to take another course or whatever. It's they have to actually be able to have a coach, somebody who's willing to get in there, find what's actually holding them back. And when they do, that's when the aha moment happens and everything like moves forward from there. So Teresa, any questions that come up for you in this?
Yeah, I think the question is, from your experience, when people actually say that they're stuck, right? Because some people don't even realize that they're stuck in a particular area. Mm-hmm. But like from your experience, when people say that they're stuck, what is like your biggest insight into that?
Oof. Okay. So first off, when people say they're stuck, a lot of times what I initially like goes through my brain is that they're putting a label on themselves. And so they have no opportunity to get unstuck until I ask them some more questions about it. So a lot of times what I will do is I will go back to the last time that they felt like they were stuck and go through an actual situation to show them how this is in play. We have something called the growth model in our certification that shows you how this system is playing out and how you're showing up, how it's making you feel, all this process, right? And then we can help rewrite that into another situation. But like for me, when somebody comes on and they're like, I'm stuck, I actually ask them to tell me about a specific situation, because a lot of times people will like globalize everything where they're like, I'm stuck. Nothing is working. Nobody is. And whenever I hear like globalization like that, I'm like, okay, that is not the truth, but let's find out what actually is going on. And so I asked them to describe a very specific situation. And by being able to get them to describe that, then I can take them through the process that we have in the growth model to be able to show them what's actually going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions about this whatsoever. Thank you for what you do out there every single day. This is hard work. This is the work that we really have to do as coaches to get to the deeper levels of what our clients are actually struggling with. And I don't know about you, but like I'm all in for this so that we can help like really not only eliminate a lot of the stories that they're telling themselves, a lot of the perspectives that are not getting them to show up, but help them rewrite that into a new story so they can show up as the best version of themselves. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for leaning in, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye, everybody.